now people who are professional haters of China. And here we are again with Winston saying some stuff about China. Let's see.
But I'll try my best to put at least some of it up on the screen for you. But fair warning, if you're squeamish, or if you're afraid of the truth stripping the rose tint off of those glasses of yours, perhaps give this one a skip.
It looks like a car accident, okay?
There's something about March 19th this year in China, and it has kicked off China's annual murder season.
China murder season.
At about 8 p.m. on March 19th in the Dongcheng district of China's capital, Beijing, a black car intentionally sped into the bike lane, sending people flying, leaving a mess of dead and injured cyclists and pedestrians.
I remember this accident.
When confronted, the driver simply started screaming at the crowd. Police on the scene were telling people to delete any videos they took of the incident off of their mobile phones. This is according to a Beijing-based reporter for Taiwan's central news agency.
As always, no source, no nothing. It's just him saying something, right? About this, the police asking people to delete the videos. I mean, this makes no sense because in China, TikTok is huge. It's called Douyin here. And people for sure was making lives about this. I cannot see the police asking people to delete things.
On the same day, 900 miles away, at the Taizhou Vocational and Technical College, a student went on a vehicular homicidal rampage on campus, mowing down students on their way to class. Again, leaving a trail of dead and injured. Not a pretty picture. It doesn't end there.
We are in a country of 1.4 billion people. Of course, these things happened. Of course. Doesn't mean it's a nice thing, but it does happen. Of course there's crimes. Of course there's crazy people.
This is a tough but important topic to cover. Before we get stuck in, let's lighten the mood with a data broker rap. Deep within the people go on rampages killing innocent bystanders and pedestrians. It genuinely upsets me. A few months ago, a despicable bastard intentionally ran over and murdered young school children on their way to school in rural China. Killing little children, for crying out loud.
That's horrible, of course. But saying that it is a murder season in China is a huge thing. So it's like he means there's a connection between those murders.
People ram through busy intersections and crosswalks.
Yes, this was here in the south. I remember this. It was here in the south.
Bike and pedestrian lanes. How many of these have you heard of? Genuine
Well, I heard of because I'm living in China and I saw those videos.
question.
I always say this. I have another channel in Portuguese and I always say that the world is huge. There's a lot of things happening all the time. So it's hard to catch up with everything. It's impossible. So, of course, if you ask how much of those news you heard, like in, I don't know, in the rural areas of Canada, probably the person never know. It's too many things happening all the time. So that's a very stupid question. But this is a horrible thing.
I'm sure you're aware, but me telling you about this, even if I don't show it, is not something that YouTube allows. And I get it. This isn't exactly cheery subject matter, and these scenes are incredibly graphic.
Of course.
Even if I don't show them to you, describing them makes this video ineligible for monetization on YouTube. But, you know what?
That's why he's here. Because he's a China hater. He's been 5 minutes talking about this topic. No background about what is happening. He just called it murder season. And now he's playing the nice guy saying, okay, I will not monetize this video.
That's okay. I sometimes have to cover the difficult topics that no one else will. In fact, my videos are often demonetized or simply cannot be monetized. Again, that's okay. Because I don't do this for the money.
No,
I genuinely want China to change for the better. And the only way things...
Said the guy who often says, I left South Africa. He's from South Africa. I have left South Africa because the racism against white people
will ever change is if we discuss what's wrong. A squeaky wheel will never be repaired, and a crying child will never be fed unless someone hears it. So let's talk about it. Oh, and I can't stress enough just how grateful I am to those of you who support me on Patreon for allowing me the luxury...
I don't make this for money, but thank you people from Patreon who give me money.
...of taking the financial hit when discussing these difficult topics. So the 19th seems to have been a breaking point. Not only did we see those 2 mass murders...
wait, I missed something here. He's saying that he wants to help China because nobody's discussing about those topics and etc. How does he know? As I said, I saw those videos here in China because there was news about it. So yes, people are talking about those accidents in China. How does he know? No one is talking about it in China. But also a suspicious bus accident where the driver drove into the wall of a tunnel, killing 13 passengers. We also saw a man go crazy and start attacking... Okay, he shows a random video. He mentions about an accident. Where's the accident?
...people randomly with a sickle outside a hospital in Guangzhou. Speaking of hospitals, an intern at Nanning Hospital committed suicide, the second suicide in that hospital in the same week. Also on the 19th in Shanxi province, a suspicious...
As I said, you're talking about 1.4 billion people.
...and deadly explosion ripped through a winery. I mean, these things, all of them happened on a single day. And that's not to mention the murder of a 16-year-old that happened the night before. Look, I could go on and on. This has been a very murderous and crazy month in China. But...
Where's the data to compare with the other months, with the other years? Where is the data? How to prove this is a murderous month in China? How to prove this is not like very low level for China? Again, we are talking about 1.4 billion people. He mentioned that what? 7 cases, 8 cases is nothing. Of course, none should happen. But if we talk about the numbers, it's nothing for a country this size.
Why? Well, it seems that after the 2 sessions finished, and the 2 sessions is this large government meeting that happens once a year in China where the top communists tell the country what's best for them and remind everyone that they have no say whatsoever in what the government does.
That's a bullshit. That's a huge bullshit because there is thousands of delegates in the government. They bring all the requests from the small places in China to the 2 sessions, to the party congress. What he's saying is just a bullshit.
Anyway, after this event, a large number of intentional killings of innocent pedestrians by cars suddenly escalated across China. If you're in WeChat groups like I am, you would have seen a sharp increase in the sharing of footage of people being run over. Like this video, where a disgruntled woman crashed into these women and a delivery driver outside the gate of Jiaxing Veterans Hospital. Seriously, every day I'm seeing a horrific scene of people being run over. These stories almost never make the news, unless it's too big to cover up, like the Beijing one. The WeChat videos are also very quickly censored and removed, but because there are people out there who genuinely want change in China, who genuinely care about the Chinese people and the victims...
So they censor a lot of those videos because it's graphic content. That's why they censor. It's not because they don't want people to know what's happening. As I said, there's news about those accidents. There's news. You can find all the news. They just censor like he's doing now with all those square things. They censor the graphic content, but you can find the information on the news.
Victims of these crimes who save these videos before they get deleted or censored. The truth cannot so easily be buried. So why are there so many cowardly attacks against innocent civilians and children in China? It's a phenomenon known as revenge against society. People in China cannot vent their frustrations. You cannot protest in China. You cannot criticize the government.
That's a lie. 2 lies. Yes, China is possible to protest. In fact, China is the country with most strikes in the world. And yes, you can criticize the government, but we are talking about a Confucianist society. It's a completely different part of the world. You cannot just curse politicians in China. It's not so simple. You cannot do that. It's not allowed by the rules of the society to that. It's not because the communist part of China said you cannot do it. It was always like that, since Confucius. So you can criticize, but in a completely different way.
The government is constantly feeding people BS propaganda about how China is the best, most amazing, powerful, advanced, and safe country in the world.
I never saw that. In fact, I work with members of the Communist Party of China, and they told me China has a lot of issues. They have a meeting once a month only to discuss the problems in the country. The people from the factory that are members of the Communist Party of China with people from other factories, they get together once a month only to discuss what's wrong with the government politics, what they can do better, what suggestions they can suggest. What he's saying doesn't match the reality.
And that the government cares about the people. It's all a false dream. If you're down on your luck in China, you're screwed. You have no legal recourse when you're fired or get scammed out of your life savings by a government-linked real estate scam or bogus investment. When people get disillusioned, they realize that in fact, society and the government doesn't actually give a shit about them. When people realize that in fact they have no recourse or control over their destiny, they feel...
See what he does? I mentioned this in the previous video. He's just a white man in a suit to give this air of like, I know what I'm talking about. And he speaks on this very nice, polite English, but first he shows a lot of videos and say, oh, this is from the same time span. No proofs at all. And then he's saying that all those videos are because people are tired of the society. They want to vent their issues based on nothing because he has no proofs of nothing. He never proves anything.
Feel cheated. They start to look around and resent their fellow citizens, who they see as unfairly doing well. They especially look at the opportunities young children have in comparison to their poor lot that life has served them. They start to seek revenge. This is why kindergarten stabbings became a uniquely Chinese phenomenon. So much so...
That's not true, because unfortunately it happened in Brazil last year, in 2022, it happened. And in the United States, it happens with guns.
That guards armed with human restraint devices specifically trained to subdue knife-wielding maniacs are now posted outside every single kindergarten in China.
Since I moved to China, I saw that on kindergarten. And that's how actually the police is, that's a kind of equipment police is using here in China. They don't use guns. Last week I saw pepper spray, and that's it. Most of the time they use these restrainers to contain, to de-escalate the situation, and that's it. About the kindergarten, I saw those since 2019, so it's nothing new.
The more the economy in China struggles, the more these revenge against society attacks will increase.
And that's what they do. They try to stop the person until the police comes, arrest the guy, and that's it. No one gets hurt. Completely different from the United States, right?
China is not the safe utopia that the propagandists would have you believe. China faces its own unique public safety challenges.
Yes, of course.
And in fact, spend more money on policing and controlling the public in China than they do on their own military.
Basic. What are the numbers? Which numbers? Show the numbers. Show the source. No need, right? He doesn't need to show anything. He's just a white man on a suit.
Pretending that these problems don't exist because it's an inconvenience to your propaganda is a disservice to the victims of these brutal and senseless murders happening on a more and more frequent basis in China. I hope you've learned something.
No, we learned that again. Once again, you don't prove anything. You just say a lot of things that could be true, but as I said, you don't prove anything. Doesn't mean there's a connection between those facts. And that's it. A white man on a suit saying a lot of things about a country where he doesn't live anymore and he never studied about it